Hey guys, welcome to Metal Thrash and Nerd Podcast. And today I have with me Andy from the band Lord. If you haven't checked them out, they are the predecessor of Dungeon, I guess you'd say. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I did a little research. Now, they're a great power metal band. I actually have to really highly suggest, if you're going to list them on Spotify, to check them out before you buy anything. You should buy something anyway. You should check out the Heavy Hitters Lord Australian Heavy Metal playlist. And the song that particularly got me was Battle of Venarium. And yeah, I really enjoyed that one. A lot of progressive stuff going on there.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to give you a minute here to kind of promote, tell everybody what you got going on, what's new for Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've kind of been in hibernation like a lot of bands, over the past couple of years with all the global pandemic stuff. But we've been busy in a sense. We're currently writing the next release that won't be out until next year, but we should have some new music later this year anyway, just to keep people happy and tease a few songs of what's to come in the new year. But yeah, I think at the moment it's really just been a case of going back to the workshop, so to speak, and starting to put together songs and ideas and talk to the guys and yeah, hopefully a big year next year when it comes to music. But yeah, it's been a fun ride over the past couple of years dealing with all the challenges. But despite that, we've still managed to get some music out and have some fun along the way. So the most recent release that came out was Blood Red Skies. That came out on the 1st of January this year, which is just a small EP. Has a couple of cover songs on there. Blood Red Skies is the Judas Priest song, so we did the cover. So that was the highlight of the EP. And that went really well. In Australia here, went to number 1 in the Australian independent charts. So that was really cool. Nice little way to kick off 2022. And yeah, we're just hoping to keep that momentum going into the next release. So lots happening, but at the same time, I'm watching all my friends playing these big festivals in Europe at the moment, and I'm just sitting at home going, oh man, like I want to do that. so I'll have to wait a bit.
I think everybody that picks up a guitar wants to do that.
Oh, for sure.
I always said I'd die happy if I ever got to play Bakken.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Right. I mean, hell, y'all have got a pretty damn big following on Twitter. It's pretty damn crazy.
Yeah,
28K there, man. That's, you've been around. I know you were around for a while as Dungeon, so that definitely, I'm sure, helped. But I mean, the music itself, I think, speaks for itself. It's very good. It's power metal in a sense, but there's a lot of heavier elements. Definitely some growth there. It's not just your average everyday power metal. Yeah,
I think for us, we're a bit of a unique beast in the sense that I think people call us like a power metal band, but we've got so many different elements in our music. So sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to try and pigeonhole us in a genre, so to speak. Because we're just music fans. Like we love just, it's not just metal. I mean, we throw in so many like little 80s pop references in our music, which most people won't pick up, but you kind of pick up some melodies here and there, and we're just massive fans of music. So yeah, like that Heavy Hitters playlist that you mentioned before is just, I guess, a sample of the heaviest stuff that we do. And there is that sort of symphonic epic, really sort of heavy music like Battle of Venarium, but of course there's like black and thrash stuff in there as well. So there's a whole bunch of different elements in there that just sort of blend in, and we just mash them together and try. I mean, the goal is to always make it sound like Lord, whatever our sound is. So when people do hear a song, hopefully people go, oh, that sounds like a Lord song, even though it might not be something I normally am used to from a genre point of view. So it sounds like a complete mess, but somehow we make it work.
No, absolutely. It's great that you step outside of your box like that and really explore. A lot of the bands on here recently, I've noticed with a lot of the new bands coming in and playing metal now, they're trying to explore different regions and different, styles and genres and stuff and add them into their music. It's great to see this amongst the entirety of the metal community as far as new bands and stuff like that. And even one as such as yourself that's, you've got some experience,
I think so.
I'm not going to call you old.
We're getting there. We're getting old, but I think it's important. I think as a musician, I think it's really important to embrace as many styles of music as possible. It just you learn more about your instrument and about songwriting, and you realize that there's a lot of patterns and things that do translate and carry over from, all the genres. So I think especially for me, I can only speak on behalf of myself, but when I'm listening to like a pop song, which maybe in my younger days, I might have brushed it off and thought it was just garbage. I listen to a lot of pop music now and I just go, wow, this is incredible because of the technical aspect of it. Like, how much effort's been put into the songwriting process, even if sometimes you listen to the lyrics and you go, oh, okay, it's a bit, it's a bit crap, but it's amazing. Like the work that goes into it, the theory behind it, and making sure that those songs work. And the reason why they're so catchy and the reason why they're so big is obviously, there's money and there's a record label behind it, but there's some science behind it. And the reason why they're so popular is that they're written in a particular way that when people listen to it, they immediately are attached to it and can recall it and remember it and easily sing along without being sort of challenged too much. Whereas I think a lot of our friends in the metal scene, and it's something to be celebrated with, but I think we often punish our fans because we write these really complicated, sometimes really progressive pieces of music, which are fantastic. It's amazing music, but it does involve an element of effort from the listener to go, okay, I need to wrap my head around what I'm listening to here, which is fun, but it's certainly a different goal intended.
I think the thing with in particular metal musicians, and just speaking for myself because I play guitar for 20 something years now and wrote music for so long myself, it's I think it's easier for musicians to latch on this type of music in particular. I think a lot of in particular my audience, I feel like I've noticed a lot of the people that listen are musicians that listen to the podcast. They're very appreciative of that kind of thing. And I think that's a kind of particular audience for us. I mean, there's obviously your random guy that's maybe he's got an off heartbeat or something. It's not 4/4 and 120, So
yeah.
You were talking about pop music like that. Now, a lot of it's written in the 4/4, 120, range because that's our natural heartbeat.
Yep.
So, I mean, that a lot of that, you're talking about the science and stuff, and it's kind of crazy because they analyze so deep into, how a particular key affects someone or something. It's almost like Spinal Tap, where it's like, that's D minor. It's the saddest key of all, So,
yeah.
I'm glad you take you took the time to kind of study up and appreciate that more with pop music and stuff. And not a lot of guys in metal will do that.
Yeah, I think people are more open-minded these days. I think when all of us are sort of getting into music for the first time, we're so fixated and stressed about our own identity. And I think for me in particular, when I was in my teens and I was getting into metal, I wanted to be just the metalhead. I wanted to be the metal guy, and it's, wimps and posers leave the hall, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, I would never be caught dead listening to anything less than, real heavy metal, true metal, but over the years, and, it's an element of maturity that kicks in as well. But I think, and I notice that even with the younger people these days, I think people are just naturally more open-minded, and there's not as much ridicule for just listening to something that's a bit left of center. It's just, there's so many interesting things out there to discover and enjoy. And I think just with the connectivity of the internet, I mean, that just makes it so much easier now. You can just flick links back and forth and check stuff out, and you can see how open-minded other people are, and you find your own communities also. But it's just nice. It's nice in comparison to a funny, just a random story just came to my head. I remember the last time Pantera toured here in, must have been 2001. So there's a Reinventing the Steel tour. And I got there early, and I was an eager young whippersnapper getting ready to see the metal guys at that stage. And I rocked up wearing a Metallica Pori touring 1998 tour shirt or something like that. But it was basically the Reload era touring sort of cycle. And I got so much shit from the old metalheads that were camping out the front of the venue waiting to get in, like just going like, you listen to shit music. You can't believe you listen to that sort of, that era of Metallica, blah, blah, blah. Anything past Ride the Lightning sucks, or whatever. Or, everything past Kill 'Em All sucks, just ridiculous stuff. But that was just, I felt like that was the norm. Like it was the norm to like shit on each other's like bands, like, or music that they listened to. And so the identity thing seemed to be so much more prevalent. And I think that was sort of, the internet was around, but I don't think we were nowhere near as connected as we are now back then. So I think at that stage, I think people were still more fixated on that identity and being quite defensive about it. So yeah, so just a funny, sorry?
It was a boys club.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely different these days. There's still a little bit of that, but I think it's way better than what it used to be, and that makes it exciting. There's just so much to take in and experience. So it's all going in the right direction.
Yeah, there's so many metalheads now that are running up a hill and making a deal with God. That I don't know if you watch the newer Stranger Things.
I've been tempted to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but the amount of people saying you've got to check it out and all those references in there,
that song is on there and it's just blown up again. That Kate Bush song has went crazy.
Oh, we need a Lord song in a movie or something like that. Jeez, give us some plays.
Right? You're not the first guy to be on here to say stuff like that. I know Sean Peck from Death Dealers. Like, I've been trying to get a song on. I don't know if you've ever heard of Razor Fist.
Yeah,
Rageaholic. Yeah, he's been trying to get a song on the end credits of his stuff forever, apparently.
Yeah, I love Razor Fist. I think that stuff is just it's informative but very entertaining. Yeah. There's certainly a style to it.
His political side can be a bit rough for me. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of all that stuff. Of course, I'm over here in the States too, so I'm dealing with it every day.
Oh man, like I feel like I'm dealing with it every day, just logging on to like my Twitter feed. But I can't even imagine what it'd be like for you guys over there. But I think, and that's the other thing. Like that's a good example of somebody who's at times there'll be a few comments and things thrown into the mix, and you sort of think, oh, I'll just pretend he didn't say that, or just brush over and just stick to the music, that kind of stuff. But it's just. It's just so many different opinions out there, just that extends past music as well. And it's just a case of finding, I think we should all be challenged about different opinions. I think we need to be exposed to that. But I think there's also an element of, I don't know, just trying to find your community of people that you can relate to and have some comfort with, because there's just so much noise out there. And there's so much stuff that just becomes mentally taxing.
I think a lot of what you're talking about too, to me, kind of comes up to fight or flight.
Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't know if you're familiar. I think everybody should be familiar with that by now.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a basic concept of life is knowing when to say something, when to go, oh, okay, this guy's he's on his rag or whatever,
You got to pick your battles.
Yeah, it's IMS, irritable male syndrome sometimes.
I love that. I like it. I might have to steal that one.
I don't remember where I stole it. I might have stole it from King of the Hill.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
I'm a big animation guy. With your type of music too, and some of the stuff you talk about, I've got to ask, what element of what kind of fantasy stuff are you guys into? I mean, obviously there's got to be some fantasy, or hell, I don't know. With a band name like Dungeon before, I'd almost think you might want to play some D&D,
Well, I'm probably the least fantasy based in the band. So the band at the moment, maybe just a bit of context. There's three of us in the band. So we're very much Spinal Tap. We haven't had a permanent drummer in the band since like 2012. We've had this revolving door of drummers coming in and out. So the band really is like the three of us, Mark, Tim, and myself. So two guitarists, myself on bass, and Tim is guitar and vocals. So that's just a bit of context of the dynamic of the three of us. But Mark's a big movie buff. Loves it. Battle of Venerian's one of his songs. He loves a lot of the old epics. But he's a Marvel fan and things like that as well. So you'll see you'll see some of that stuff seeping into some of his lyrics, some of those edgier songs on the releases. Tim's a little bit more old school, so he's got he's got a song back in the Dungeon era of the band called The Legend of Humor. So I think people that are sort of in the fantasy world will certainly be able to connect with that. And there's another song called Netherlife as well. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, he might have a go at me, but I'm pretty sure that he used to play Dungeons and Dragons back in the day anyway. I'm pretty sure, and I think that was a little bit of inspo. I don't think he played it for a long time, but I think he definitely played it at some stage. Yeah.
Well, definitely. Let's see if I can move my head the right way. Where is it at? That guy right there. Where is it? Right there. Nerd. I have to ask.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, nerd. I was trying to get it, man, but everything's like backwards.
Yeah.
I just started messing with these backgrounds on Zoom too. So, but I had to ask because I mean, usually anytime in power metal, somebody's got some influence from somewhere like that, and you're talking about the Marvel stuff. I absolutely have to ask somebody about that because I'm a huge Marvel guy.
Yeah.
If you follow my Instagram feed at all, it's like I've got like 2 days devoted to comic books. So.
It's good. I mean, it's certainly something I'm not overly familiar with myself. I don't know why as well. I mean, I've been around it for so long, but for whatever reason, it just didn't fall into my lap. But the guys, and especially I think in the dynamic of the writing process in the band, I mean, Tim's our main guy. Tim formed the band Dungeon back in 1989. So maybe just I'll give a bit of context around the band itself. So the band formed as Dungeon in 1989 in a place called Broken Hill, which is, for geography buffs out there, it's about 13 hours drive west of Sydney. So basically, it's in the outback. It's in the literal outback. It's where they filmed Mad Max as well, the original Mad Max.
Good place for a metal band.
Yeah. So he formed the band out there, which is quite interesting. He's got a lot of great stories of growing up out there, and funnily enough, a lot of metalheads that lived out there. And then in the mid-90s, he moved to Sydney, relocated with a couple of guys from the band, and just kept going from there. And then I think at the end of, if I get the years right, at the end of 2005, he made the decision to change the name of the band from Dungeon to Lord. Pretty much just a brand change, really.
Yeah.
The music stayed the same direction, everything sort of, if anything, I think the shedding the name Dungeon and going to Lord, I think mentally just gave him a little bit of an open mind when it came to what we were just talking about, like bringing in more elements of into the music, widening the scope a little bit, and try not to be so pigeonholed. Because I think with Dungeon was on Limb Records in Europe for a few albums, and just were heavily pigeonholed in the power metal genre, which was fine and it worked, but it also was quite limiting at that point in time. And I think Limb were certainly very very strict about you are this, you are that, and you don't branch out of that. They've got a formula and it works for them. So all these sort of things sort of led to that. But so getting into the Lord era now, obviously there's a lot of extra stuff coming in, but Tim's the main guy. Tim's been there from day dot. He's the main songwriter. The majority of the songs come from him, lyrically as well. But Mark is a heavy contributor as well when it comes to songwriting and lyrics also. So when you do filter through a lot of lyrics from our back catalogue, they primarily come from the two of them. I've thrown a few lyrics here and there, but those two guys they've worked it out. They worked out a formula that works between the two of them. They write. I mean, I've got like little alerts popping up on my screen for Slack. Like we've got a Slack chat. Right. And just like Dropbox links and ideas back and forth. I mean, we haven't seen each other, haven't been in person together in about 12 months, but we're just writing and recording remotely, and it's just working. So, lots of ideas and things getting thrown around.
Totally understand the Dropbox thing, man.
Yeah.
Like
it's a lifesaver.
Earlier, I think I've gotten like 15 different EPKs in the past month or two, so.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. Yeah, it is a lifesaver. That and Google Drive have both been great for me. I might need to switch over to Dropbox. Google Drive's kind of slow in their uploads. God, what was I going to say about? There's something you said in particular that really stuck with me there. You were talking about how the label was very kind of pigeonholed on Dungeon, how Lim was like that, and it always kind of made me think, not every band gets the opportunity that some of the others have. Like, I think of somebody like Blind Guardian, who after their fourth album just went a completely different direction. They just had the opportunity to. So obviously it was a great thing for Dungeon to change their name, because, like I said, the music you've got going on right now was really cool. What I've had a chance to listen to. So let me ask you, kind of, what are some of your influences? How did you start to? What led you to playing music?
Yeah, I think like a lot of metalheads or metal fans, like, it's the typical bands that sort of get you started, the Metallicas and Megadeth and all that kind of stuff. So in high school, just getting, and I didn't have any older brothers or sisters or anything like that. So a lot of my friends discovered heavier music from their siblings. And so I sort of indirectly discovered music that way, from other people's older brothers and sisters, So, so early high school, early teens was probably around the time where I started to listen to music with a little bit more intention. I think before that it was just, random, I don't know, whatever's on the radio, or just pop music or whatever just sounded good, but not knowing or understanding what I was listening to. So, and it's an exciting time to discover. Like, you just realize there's a whole new world there, and you're just trying to wrap your head around, like, who's who, and the discovery of finding out what bands link to what other band. And so naturally off the back of that, you want to start, well, at least for me, I wanted to start playing. I wanted to start trying to replicate these sounds and go, how do you play, I don't know, Master of Puppets, things like that. And so there were definitely early inspirations to pick up a guitar. And so just a bedroom guitarist, just playing at home, trying to learn, all that kind of stuff. And I think it was towards the end of high school where I started to play with other people. And it got to a point where I really wanted to play in a band, and the people at school that I was playing with, it was okay, but it wasn't, I think we barely got through songs. Like, everyone just lost interest, like,
Right.
After the second chorus, and went, okay, let's play another song. But I realized that anything serious out there, any bands that were taking it seriously, it was incredibly hard to join a band as a guitarist. Everyone was a guitarist. Everyone wanted to play guitar, but no one played bass. No one wanted to play bass. And like a lot of other bass players, I went from guitar to bass, and the primary motivator at that time was to be in a band, more so than the instrument that I was allocated. So I just thought, there's a gap in the market here. I'm jumping in. I'm picking up bass, and I'm gonna join a band. And
drums.
Yeah, that's right. And I tell you what, a lot cheaper than the drums. Yeah. So so I started playing with some more serious musicians, and then it's like just the power of networking. Just over time, you just start to play with bands with a little bit more credibility, and it sort of led me to Lord, to the tail end of Dungeon. So I think I joined at the end of 2005, beginning of 2006, and really, it was probably my first real band that I was in. Like, so I kind of got thrown in the deep end to begin with. Like, I and living in a completely different city. So I grew up in Brisbane, which is about, I don't know, 10 hours drive north of Sydney, and all the guys were in Sydney. So I packed up my bags and moved to Sydney, and everything was just brand new. Really threw myself in the deep end. So, but it was an awesome opportunity. I was incredibly lucky just to be able to be right place, right time for that. And I only expected to sort of last a few weeks. I thought, this will be just a nice little fun thing to do for a few weeks, and I'll go home. I'll go back to Brisbane after that. And I don't know, whatever it is now, 16 odd years later, I never left. I never turned around. I just kept going. So that's kind of been a bit of a crash course of sort of my music endeavors, but lots of twists and turns along the way, of course.
Right. Well, speaking of your music endeavors, over to your right side, what is that you have over there? I'm just curious.
Over here?
Yeah, with the lights.
this here. So I've got a Rodecaster Pro. So, so usually use it for podcasting actually. So it's quite good there. So just a little bit of a mixer. I'm using that for recording as well. I've actually found out it's quite versatile. So I'm actually running. It's my sound card now. So I'm just running all my DI, all my everything's going through it now. So. It's a cool little thing and pretty as well. It's got some lovely, pretty lights on it. So it makes me feel important and techie, which I'm certainly not. Cool.
I was like, oh, okay, what's he got over there? Is that a drum pad? You know?
Well, and these are all samples as well. So I can pre-program a sample and just press it. And so if I want to, I don't know, have like a explosion or something like that,
right.
I guess do it.
Fart noises.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it should be used for. Noises.
No, I just run through Cubase and all that stuff, man.
Yep.
I guess I do it some kind of old-fashioned way or something. You know?
If it works, it works. Hey,
I've never been a soundboard guy, so.
Yeah. I think for me, like I'm not a techie guy at all, and I always say I've got the attention span of a goldfish. Like I lose interest in stuff too quickly, and so for me, like if I can plug and play, and there's minimal fuss, and if something, and the old saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like so there's lots of old stuff that I continue to use, and it gets the job done. And Tim in our band, he's the complete opposite of me, like an absolute tech nerd. He's incredible, an absolute wizard, and he's always like got the shiny new thing, the new plug-in or whatever it might be. And so he's talking it up and I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. And then I'm thinking, I don't need it. Like, I don't need it.
I've had to teach myself that, man. You start buying plugins. Next thing you know, you've spent about $5,000 and you probably should have just bought a Need console or something at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, so you do all your stuff just straight DI. Is there any kind of plugins or anything you use, or did you just do it DI, send it over to Tim or somebody, and let them do all the little bit of work right there with like the amp and stuff?
Yeah, mostly like that, the latter. It's just easier to have everything running fairly clean, and it just makes you got more options then to work with. It's not as fun though, of course. Like just it's like this sounds like shit. Yeah. You want that great sound straight away. You don't want to drop it in later on. But that's the way we work. So I've still got an old down below me here under the desk. I've got a valve state Marshall that I've had for like 20 years, and so it's not plugged into anything. But just every once in a while, if I just want to get it out of my system and play some heavy riffs or something like that, then I can flick that on and have some fun with that, and then go back to my boring old DI afterwards.
Yeah, I've got 2 different PVs under the desk and like Amplitude on the computer and all that shit. So I play with all that stuff. Well, the upside of stuff like that too is once you do find a good sound, you have something that's a good starting point for when you're mixing and mastering. So if you do need to change something, you can fix that. So we're actually running out of time on here. I try to keep these about 30 minutes. We're actually a little bit over, which is fine. I'm enjoying the conversation and I'm glad to have you here. So what are some of your hobbies outside of, playing music and metal? I see you have, is that a Michael Jordan poster back there? Or?
Yeah, I've got a few NBA posters here. Got Hakeem and some old school ones. Kevin Johnson there. Jeez. Yeah. So I love basketball. I'm a big basketball fan. Used to play it. I used to attempt to play it, but I'm a short guy, and sucked at dribbling the ball, so I could never even be a point guard. But I love the sport.
I'm still short.
Yeah,
I feel bad. I'm 5'11" and couldn't do it.
Yeah, I got a mean layup, and that's about it. But so I love basketball. So love following the NBA, of course. But we've got our Australian league here as well. So we've got more Australians in the NBA than ever before as well, which is really cool. So very exciting for Australia. But yeah, apart from that, the other big thing that I do outside of music is podcasting, but I haven't done that for a few months. But I've got my own show since 2015, called the Andy Social Podcast, and I've done about 300 odd episodes on that one, and similar to what we're doing now, just having a chat and learning, and discovering, and just talking to all sorts of interesting people, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm sure you've had a similar experience, but I think it just opens up your world.
Yeah, I just celebrated by the time this comes out, I will have celebrated my first year of podcasting.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. I just stumbled into it. I bought the equipment to record a buddy's band because I was like, hell, I'm not playing in a band. I might as well record some. So I kind of jumped into that, and it led me into podcasting because I listened to so much damn Jim Cornette. You know, he talks about wrestling, and I was just like, hell, if he can do it, I can. You know, his stories are probably a little more interesting. He's been shot at a few more times than me, but you know. I don't think you've lived until you've been shot at, right?
No, that's it. I haven't lived yet, but you know, I'm happy to. I'm happy to.
Mine was with a BB gun.
All right, okay.
It wasn't like a 12 gauge or nothing like that. No.
Well, if it's going to be any gun, I'm glad it's that one.
Right. No. It's been fun. You know, finding out I actually found out from one of the guys at Rat Salad, you do a podcast. I'm part of Rat Salad Review now. I know we tried to work something out before, but you know, like the rest of us, timing is just, it's hard to get. So I appreciate you making the time to do this. That, you know, I tell every artist that comes on here, it means a lot to me when you take the time to, you know, come on here, talk. And, you know, it kind of helps me out too, because it opens up another audience for me and for the other bands that come on here as well. And that's what I'm all about, is bringing bands on here and opening up an audience for them. You know, I want to give them the same opportunity that I didn't have when I was playing in bands. You know, I did not have these opportunities to do podcasts and stuff. And now it's such a big thing that, you know, we can really help spread the word about different metal bands and stuff.
I love it. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a chat. You know, I think it's underrated. I think, you know, although there's 50 million podcasts out there and everyone feels like they've got their own podcast, I honestly think podcasting is still underrated. And I don't think that people are using it to the maximum ability. I think just everything you said echoes my feelings when I do my podcast. Yeah,
it's all
platforms
about sharing.
Yeah. You bring communities together. People discover it's not just music either. It's just like, I think, just discovering different ideas, different ways of life, different thought process. You know, and for a lot of us, you know, like what we were saying before, like, you know, early days of the internet or pre-internet, you know, you're a little bit more insular. You know, I think these days you can't afford to be, and I think the opportunity to be able to listen in or participate in a podcast where you get to talk to people is incredible. So for me, like I always appreciate anybody who would come onto my podcast and give me the time to talk to me, because it's incredibly powerful. So what, you know, and to do something like this, to reverse it, to come onto yours, I couldn't think of anything better to do. I think it's just it's an amazing thing that these platforms exist, and we've got the ability to be able to do stuff like this, and people can listen in and learn about each other. So I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to waffle on for half an hour. It's been fun.
No, absolutely. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. You know, it's been telling people before, you know, this is fun for me because I get to talk about metal, and I'm in a place where there's not a lot of metal fans. You know, I might find you know, some comic fans, but not really a lot of metal guys. Not in Dalton, Georgia. Mostly a lot of country music fans. So that's,
we need a call to action. We've got to find those random metalheads that are sitting somewhere in their bedrooms that are unaware. We need to find them in the neck of the woods.
Driving my ass to Atlanta. I'll be on a 2-hour drive for that one. No, definitely send me your podcast link on Twitter, or you know, your whatever your at is, whatever they call that, your tag on Twitter, tagline, whatever it's called. I'm new to Twitter, just like I'm new to staring at a video camera and rolling my eyes around, not knowing what I'm doing. So this has all been a great learning experience. I appreciate you coming on, man. It means a lot. Just give you another minute here to promote your band and help promote your podcast. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So the podcast, the Andy Social Podcast. So it's in all the usual places, you know, Apple, Spotify, etc. So if you listen to podcasts, you can find my podcast pretty easy. But lots of stuff on there. a lot of metal musicians, of course. So if metal's your main thing, then of course there's plenty of great episodes to listen to. A great way to learn about Australian metal as well. So I've spent a lot of time, probably not intentionally to begin with, but over time, kind of documenting a lot of Australian metal by way of talking to all these people in the Australian metal scene. So if anyone wants a bit of a crash course in Australian metal, my podcast could be a nice little place to dig in and have a look and have a listen to who some of these people are that have been doing things in the past or continuing to do it. But outside of music, on the podcast, just talking to all sorts of people, just from all the arts or in the science fields. The weird and the wonderful. One guy who believes he's being contacted by aliens. So that one's pretty wild. If you want to search for Peter Maxwell Slattery, I think that's his name. That's a pretty wild episode. He's pretty adamant. He talks to aliens quite often, but anyway, I'll leave that with him. And so podcast is a lot of fun. Lots of odds and ends in there. So and that's a fun thing. It's a bit of a time capsule now of lots of conversations that have happened over the past 7 odd years. So lots of great stuff in there. And then for the band, our website lord.net.au is our main website, and I think if you search Lord Official, you'll probably find us on most of the social media platforms. It's not the easiest band name to try and search for. I don't think
on Spotify.
Oh yeah. Well, what I discovered with Spotify is that this works for me. I don't know if it works for anybody else, but if you type in Lord in capitals, it tends to come up in the search results a bit easier than lowercase. But hey,
we got 5 seconds left, so thanks for joining me. I'm running out of time. It's been fun.
See ya.
Peace.